Welcome back to the show. I'm glad you're here. This episode I call the Restaurant Operator Hot Seat. Why? Because I'm going to put you on the hot seat and I'm going to ask you some questions about you as the owner or you as your leadership team. Okay? And it's vitally important that you understand these concepts and that you practice them. It's important to have a feel for your business, to really know it from the inside out. Then you don't have to be tied to your business 24/7.
You're tuned in to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Bodwin.
Menufy works with the best independent restaurants in the business to not just compete, but stand out. Menufy uplevels SEO, takes direct online orders, markets to your guests, and manages your online reputation. You get a custom-branded SEO-optimized website, powerful data that you control without losing 30% to third parties, automated customer feedback, loyalty programs, marketing tools, built-in chargeback protection, and 24/7 support. Menufy is simple, powerful, and fully managed. Learn more at restaurant.menufy.com. Running a restaurant means juggling a lot: menus, orders, payments, and keeping everything consistent. MenuTiger makes that easier. With MenuTiger, guests scan a QR code at their table to see your digital menu, place their order, and even pay right from their phone. Behind the scenes, you can update menus instantly with custom branding, manage multiple locations, track sales with real-time analytics, even add upsells or collect guest feedback. It's simple, efficient, and built for restaurants of all sizes. Try MenuTiger today and see how much smoother your restaurant can run. Get started at menutiger.com. Let's start with the inventory process. You would be surprised to know that restaurants across this country, lots of restaurants think that inventory is placing next week's order, when that's not what it is at all. It is calculating the true value of your goods on hand at any given point in time, your food and your beverages. It has a value. I used to say to my staff, not taking inventory is like leaving $100 bills all over your restaurant for anybody to take, because it is that valuable. You could have $10,000 or even more in value sitting there. And until you sell it to a guest and you have throughput and you don't have stuff just sitting there going to waste or getting thrown in the trash or spoiled, then you need to track your inventory. There's a process for this, and it's a simple formula. And it's the same formula for food as it is for beverage. And you do these processes not at the same time. You do your food inventory and then maybe you take your beverage inventory, but you don't combine the two. The formula is this, and I'll explain what each term is. Beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending inventory equals usage divided by sales. That's the formula for food and beverage inventory. So I have a template, which I'll tell you about later in the Restaurant Academy. So if all of this is new to you and you need the templates, then I'll tell you how to get it later. But let's stick with the formula. So what is beginning inventory? Let's just say that you have all of your goods efficiently organized in your restaurant in all the storage areas. You might have a walk-in cooler, you might have a freezer or two, sandwich fridges, dry storage. These are all the storage areas where you will count your goods, okay? You take this process 4 weeks in a row because I want you to establish what I call your food and beverage sweet spot. That's a percentage where everything is as efficient as it can be, okay? So once you've got everything efficiently organized and you actually take the physical counts, you get a dollar value. That's your beginning inventory, the very first time you take your inventory counts. And the best time to take your inventory is at the end of a busy weekend. Let's just say you take your inventory the very first time. That's your beginning inventory value. And then the next thing that happens is all the purchases that you make, your delivery trucks start coming in. Maybe you have 3 deliveries a week, maybe you have 2, doesn't matter. Those are all your purchases. Ending inventory is 1 week later when you count your goods again for the second time. And then usage is automatically calculated from this formula. You don't have to calculate this, but usage represents everything that you sold to a guest for full price, anything that you sold to a team member at a discount, anything that got wasted, thrown in the trash, spoiled, fell on the floor, or got stolen out the back door. All of that represents your usage. Now all you have to do is divide by sales. and you divide by sales for a 7-day period. Okay. So if you take inventory Sunday night, you're going to count Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday sales again before you take your second inventory. Okay. But again, the important thing is either take it Sunday night at the end of business, but if you're burnt out, take it first thing Monday morning before the trucks start coming in, because the last thing you want to do is be in the middle of these counts when new merchandise is being put on the floor and moved into your restaurant. Okay. So 4 weeks in a row. Why? Because the very first time you take it, you might get a 32% food cost. And you're like, yes. And that's your sweet spot. That's an efficient, a solid food cost for your concept, perhaps. And if you're happy with that, you're seeking that 4 weeks in a row. So then you take your inventory a week later, and now you get a 34. Oh, a 2% spike. And then you take it again, and now it's a 30.5, right? You don't know what your cost of goods is, your food cost. It's all over the place. What you want is 32, 32, 32, 32.5. Okay. But 4 weeks in a row, that's your sweet spot. As long as you're hitting it, then and only then you can go to a monthly inventory. All right. The next biggest thing that you do is track your labor. I tracked it every single week, and you're also looking for a sweet spot with your labor cost. I used to track labor 2 ways. My total payroll, which is everything, the money I took out of the business for salary, my leaders' salaries, my floor managers on payroll, my hourly wages, my taxes, my payroll fees, all those things. That's your total payroll cost. Okay. I used to track it kitchen labor also, because as we know, kitchen labor now is the most expensive. It's always been the most expensive, but we're paying higher wages now than ever. Like, it's not uncommon that dishwashers, starting dishwashers here in my state of Maine, are making $19 an hour. I can't imagine what line cooks are like $25 to start, and some of them are making $30 an hour. It's unbelievable. So you got to track your labor cost. And the formula for that is your total payroll divided by your total sales. That's every single dollar that comes into your restaurant. When you track your kitchen labor, it's kitchen payroll cost only, divided by food sales only. And again, I track this on a template. All these templates I'm going to talk to you about are included in my Restaurant Academy. They're all turnkey automated spreadsheets, plus video tutorials on setting up all this stuff. So right now are you doing this stuff, right? It's really, really important to track labor. So once we do that, let's talk about prime cost. Again, a misunderstood term that's the benchmark. Once you've calculated your food and your beverage and your labor cost, the simple formula for prime cost is food cost percentage plus labor cost percentage. Food plus beverage divided by 2 plus labor equals your prime cost. So imagine you have a 30% food cost and a 20% beverage cost. You add those together, and that's a 50%. You average it. So you divide that by 2, and now you got a 25% overall food and beverage cost. And then maybe your labor cost is 30%. So you add the 25% food and beverage to the 30% labor, and now your prime cost is 55%. Are you with me? What does this mean? It means that for every dollar of sales that comes into your restaurant, 55 cents of every dollar goes to food, beverage, and labor. So that only leaves 45 cents or 45% left over from every dollar to pay every other expense in your place. And it's a long laundry list. It's the lease on the property. If you own the property, it's your mortgage and your property tax. Okay, it's the repairs and maintenance. It's the insurances. It's the dumpster in the parking lot. It's the linens, the landscaping, and the list goes on and on. So the point here is the benchmark is if you have a prayer of making money in this business, they say that your prime cost should not exceed 55%. And the margins are shrinking every day, so it's harder and harder to do this. And I'm going to tell you a big needle mover that'll help keep you with a great prime cost. But anyway, you want a 55, 57, okay, but shooting for 55 is really where it's at. And that's prime cost. This industry, it's obsessed with food cost. And yes, food cost is important, but what you really should be focused in on is your profit, because you take profit to the bank, not food cost. So how do you get a low food cost? Efficient ordering. 2, strict portion controls. 3, lots of cash cows. What's a cash cow? Something that costs very little to serve the guest, yet it has a very high perceived value. And 4, low waste, theft, spoilage. That's how you get a low food cost. But I would rather sell high food cost items all day long if they contribute a higher profit margin. Only makes sense, right? So do the efficient things that keep your food costs in check, but really shoot for profit. And I'm going to dive all into that. I have a tool in the Restaurant Academy. It's called the Menu Profit Accelerator. And I created this because I've done a lot of consulting with restaurants. And I asked them, have you costed out your menu? And a lot of them haven't costed it out. Or if they did, they haven't done it in a long time. Or if they did recently, it's like they did it to do it, but they didn't use the data. So where am I getting with this? Every single item on your menu has a cost, what it costs you in ingredients only to serve your guest. And then people sometimes just randomly assign a price to it and they're running by the seat of their pants. And what they don't realize is lower profit items are more popular sellers, taking sales away from what they want to sell, what they could be selling. Okay, thus the reason for the Menu Profit Accelerator. So I rank items. Once I've costed out a menu, and you need to do this, you rank those items from the most profitable to the least profitable. And once you've done that, then you go to a point of sale system and you look at a sales report, and then you compare volume of sales to every single one of those items. And I plug all this stuff into the template, and what I found for recent restaurants, 2 full-serve lunch and dinner busy restaurants had almost $3 million in sales each. One was $2.8 million, the other was $2.92 million. Nice business, right? I showed both of those that they left a potential profit last year of over $350,000 on the table, again, because they didn't cost out their menu and they had no idea that in every category, appetizers, soups, salads, burgers, sandwiches, entrees, desserts, lower profit items, day in, day out, were stealing sales from the more profitable items. Now, the biggest difference here is the spread or the profit difference. So once you cost out every single item, look at each category one by one and notice, is the difference in profit contribution many dollars versus cents? Probably. So my benchmark is this. For more expensive items like entrees on your menu, my benchmark is every item should be within $1 or less profit of each other. For lower cost items to your guests, like appetizers, desserts, my benchmark is within a 50 cents difference in profit. And that way you really don't care what's selling as long as you're moving all the merchandise and you don't have a waste, a cost, a theft, or a spoilage problem. My most recent client, 5-location pizzeria, they left $885,000 on the table last year across all 5 stores for that very reason. In every category, their profit spread was many dollars, taking sales away from what they could be selling, what they want to sell, and it was just a totally inefficient menu. Okay, so that is the biggest needle mover today. If you can't control inflation, you can't control the highest labor costs ever, you can control your menu profit. But I make it easy because I got a tool called the Menu Profit Accelerator. I'll tell you how to get that later. Okay, the next biggest thing is, do you have order takers on the floor? They might be personable and friendly, and they go to the table and they expect that the guest has had the menu and they decide what sounds good to them. And now I got the pad and pen in hand, or I'll commit it to memory. What'll you have, right? Versus the sales star, the person that has product and restaurant knowledge, a person that doesn't have to say, oh, let me go ask my manager when asked a question. No, they're well trained. They not only have the great personality, but they're salespeople. They're all trained to sell. In my restaurants, every single front of house person, the person who answered the phone and greeted the guests, the host, they were trained in product and restaurant knowledge. The bussers, some people call them backwaits, that clear the tables and reset the tables, they were trained in product and restaurant knowledge. They could make suggestions at the table while the server was in the kitchen. You've heard me say this before. Servers and bartenders, they were all salespeople, everyone. I don't see that in a lot of restaurants. My restaurants, I absolutely demanded it. It was a requirement. You learned, you studied. We pop quiz people all the time. We had daily pre-shifts. We trained all the time. And we kept people on their toes, and we did role playing. All this kind of stuff was vitally important. And what happened? Our sales doubled and even tripled year on year. Whenever I opened a new restaurant, sales stars was so important. That's included in the academy also. So no order takers allowed. Train your people to serve and sell. Okay. Couple of techniques. Giving choices and benefits was vitally important. Bringing things to life. It's actually been proven that if a person that makes a suggestion suggests two different items as their favorites and brings them to life, describes them so the guest can see it, smell it, taste it before it comes out of the kitchen. You've heard me say this before. They made the sale. That's a technique, okay? I have this iceberg analogy, and it's perfect for restaurants because imagine an iceberg. Most people think it's this huge thing floating on the surface, which it is, but very few people know that the biggest mass of that iceberg is hidden and unseen beneath the surface of the water. And that's where all the hidden sales opportunities are. So I call the ice on top of the water daily sales that just happen, the land of the order taker. I got my pad and pen. What'll you have? And they're leaving all that hidden opportunity below the surface of the water. Upsells, add-ons, most profitable items, bottles of wine, coffee, drinks, desserts, retail merchandise, live events if you do music or any kind of events. These are all opportunities that increase check averages, that deliver better experiences to your guests, okay? So you can't have order takers on the floor. Every seat in your restaurant is valuable real estate, and your people are either selling or they're leaving thousands of dollars in potential sales on the table. You can't have that. It's too hard to run a business today if you let order takers. So you need a training program, okay? Pop quizzes, contests, incentives, all that kind of stuff. Let's switch gears because labor continues to be the biggest challenge right now. Perhaps it is in your restaurant as well. And I hate the word hiring. Instead, I use the word recruiting, and there's a huge difference. Now, I travel a lot. I speak at a lot of industry events across the country. And one thing that I notice all the time is the now hiring signs, now hiring, okay? What you're going to get is someone else's C player, the paycheck collectors. What you're looking for is the A team, those outstanding people that have great personalities, they have experience, they have a true sense of hospitality, and they love serving the public. You wish you had more of them. You wish you had 20 more people like that. B players might be new recruits that have all those attributes. They might just be lacking a little polish, a little experience because they've never worked in a restaurant before. So mentoring and shadowing. Are you mentoring and shadowing? Do you have that program in place? That's why we call this the hot seat. Are you doing these things? Best practices. Develop your A players, okay? That's really important. All right. Incentivizing, keeping people, treating them like they're important, giving them a voice, and recognizing and rewarding them is really the way to have a low turnover. But if you're looking for staff, here's a genius idea. There's a restaurant in Southern California, and they had 28 locations. And just after the pandemic, they had a huge labor issue. They came up with the idea that they were going to give gift cards to their guests for referring a new recruit. And if that person lasted 60 days, this restaurant gave the guest a $250 gift card. It didn't cost them $250. It was their food cost. It was pennies on the dollar. If they had a 30% food cost, it was 30 cents on the dollar. And what happened? They fully staffed 28 locations, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I thought that was a genius idea. I'm a huge believer in leadership, not management. Leadership, it's a huge difference. It's recognizing talent in people, developing and nurturing that talent, giving people room to fail and make mistakes, but never criticizing, critiquing the performance, nurturing them, and then incentivizing and rewarding that performance. That's true empowerment versus delegation. I don't like the word delegation because anybody can tell somebody what to do, but empowerment is completely different. You want to create what I call intrapreneurs. These are people that treat the business as if they owned it and had to pay for it. They're entrepreneurs within your business. They use great trust. You put your trust in them, and they use their solid judgment because they don't want to let you down. Okay, do you have career descriptions in place? I never called them job descriptions because I always wanted my people to think there was a way forward. They were going to learn new things. They were going to take on additional responsibility if they wanted it. So career descriptions create accountability. And do you set clear expectations is a question I'm asking you. Again, I'm putting you on the hot seat. Do you set clear expectations and do you have accountability? And you can't have that without a career description. And again, all these templates for every single job in a restaurant are included in the academy, but I teach you how you get that accountability, how you set up leadership, and how you build what I call your dream team. Okay? Recognition and rewards, very important. There's lots of different things you can do, but you got to recognize your good people every single week and keep it fun and keep it engaging because that's super, super powerful stuff in a restaurant. Let's shift gears. Are you running a restaurant or are you running a business? Those are two entirely different things. Are you selling food and drink or are you selling experiences? Okay. Don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle. You've heard that before, and that's not my cliche or expression, but sell the sizzle and build a brand. When you build a brand, you can create a retail merchandise program, and that's an additional profit center. You can't have too many additional profit centers, and you could be surprised if you've got a powerful brand, how much money you can make by selling t-shirts and trucker hats and hoodies and all this kind of stuff. Unless you got a fine dining white tablecloth restaurant, this is a possibility where you can make additional money. Do you know what your hooks are? I love hooks. You've heard me talk about hooks all the time. Hooks are things that are unique, special, and different that set your property, your restaurant apart from the competition. Make a list of your hooks. Ask your team if they know what your hooks are. Make a list of these things. Train everybody to talk to your guests about your hooks. And in most cases, your hooks could be your most profitable items, those unique, special, and different things that set you apart. You need to do that. All right, big needle mover here. Marketing, affinity. I love the word affinity. It's a powerful sense of loyalty or belonging, okay, where you say, that's my place. I always go to that place. A long time ago, I wanted to create a mug club. I didn't want to do it myself, but I had a bar leader that was a really engaged person. He was one of those entrepreneurs that I like to use that term. I just told you what that meant. And I said, hey, go start a mug club. I didn't tell him how to do it. I didn't delegate that. I empowered him to figure it out and put the system in place to create a mug club. And it was the most powerful cash generator in my biggest restaurant. Okay. And you've seen these things. People really love this exclusivity where they don't have a standard pint glass of beer that's normal to draft beer. Or this even works in a coffee shop. Don't let me exclude you if you have a coffee shop because you can create a mug club in a coffee shop. But the point I'm making is you have a special exclusive mug, okay? And in a draft beer place, the mugs are 20 ounces versus 16 ounces. So you're getting 4 extra ounces of beer. You might charge a little less. You might charge the exact same amount as a pint, or you might charge slightly more. But I recommend you at least charge what you'd charge a regular pint. But the whole point is to provide amazing service, but people will pay you every single year for the privilege of having a mug. They don't take them home. You merchandise them over the bar. We teach you how to do this too, because I got a complete how to start a mug club program in the academy. But they sell themselves, right? Once people start joining your mug club, they invite their friends to join, they invite their family to join, and it just grows. And then people walk in and they see the mugs hanging, and suddenly it's something they want to be part of. There's the affinity thing. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's our mug club. Tell me about it. Okay, sign me up. You can charge anywhere from $100 to $150 or even more every single year for every single mug you sell. And that's a lot of cash flow. I'll tell you a quick story. That bar leader started with 25 mugs, sold them out in a day. People started telling their friends about it, and it gained momentum. When I sold that restaurant many years later, back in 2014, he had sold 1,200 mugs. And we had a seasonal place. We couldn't charge $100 because we were only open 4 months a year at a resort. But we charged $60, but he sold 1,200 mugs, and I incentivized him to do it. He made $5 for every mug that he sold. And then a year later, when those people renewed, he didn't have to do anything. They just automatically renewed online, and he still made $5 just because he started the club and he continued to nurture and develop that business. That was $70,000 in cash flow plus. And the best part was it was free and clear because we got a sponsor to put their name on the mugs and put their name on the t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. So you can do that too. You can get a mug club started. You can get it sponsored. It doesn't have to cost you anything, and all you do is collect the cash. But the kicker is this. The cash flow is nice. If you get an extra $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $70,000, whatever, in selling memberships, the kicker is people come in more often. So people that used to come in your place maybe twice a month now come in 2, 3, 4 days a week, and they're buying the beer, buying the coffee, they're buying the merchandise, they're eating your food, and the spending goes through the roof. That is a huge thing, okay? Increased visits, free and clear cash. Last question, is your marketing trackable? You got to be able to track. This is the only business I know where people walk in your back door unannounced with no appointments trying to sell you stuff, right? Every salesperson on earth walks in your restaurant with no appointment, or the phone rings off the hook, okay? But you got to be an opportunist because some of these things can be trackable. And as long as you know where the business is coming from and you track it and what the return on investment is, if I spend X, am I getting a 5X or a 10X return on that money? That's the way to go. I'm not going to give away my secrets. I told you about the Mug Club. That's really powerful. I've got so many value-packed, low-cost marketing ideas that I proved in all 5 of my restaurants over 23 years that are trackable. I knew where the business was coming from, and they all delivered huge ROI. All that is in the Academy. Okay, so the Academy, the biggest thing with the Academy, I talked about empowerment earlier. The Academy has a feature where you can assign any lesson in the Academy to any team member or any number of team members to put this system in place. Oh, I don't have an inventory system. Here you go, kitchen leader. I'd like you to do this and I'll give you a reward for doing it. Whatever it is, you can assign the lesson. They can watch the videos. The templates are there. They can figure it out. They can execute it. And that lowers your turnover. You just empowered people to take on an additional responsibility, get a reward for it, and they feel valued. Okay? I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. If you're interested in the Academy, check it out at restaurantrockstars.com. And I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. See you next time.